friends. My name is Miss Emily, and I am a library associate at the Buckeye Library branch of the Medina County District Library System. I'm really excited today because I want to share a book with you about polar bears. And then afterward, we have a fun science experiment involving polar bears and how they're able to survive when it is so cold all the time. So look forward to that after our story. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get started, I think we should do a little movement just to get our brains ready. So I'm just going to sing "Are You Happy and You Know It?" You can do the motions with me and it'll be a lot of fun. Ready? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Okay. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. All right, I think I'm ready to go. Here is the book, and it is just called Polar Bears. And the author of this book is Julie Murray, and we are reading it thanks to special permissions from Abdo Publishing. So we want to thank them for letting us share this book and learn all the fun facts and the good information inside. But before we get started, I have a question for you. Have you seen a polar bear before? Have you seen one? Maybe you saw one at the zoo. Maybe you've seen one in a book, maybe in a movie or on a TV show. But here's my picture of a polar bear on my book. And where do you think it lives? You can get some clues if you look at the picture and the background. Here are a few more pictures of its habitat. A habitat is a special name for an animal's home or where it lives. So here's one picture of a polar bear in his habitat. And here are 3 polar bears in their habitat. And let's share one more so we can get an idea of where they live. There's another one. I think this looks like a mother with her baby bears. So my question is, do you think your neighborhood would be a good habitat for a polar bear? I don't think so. No way. I mean, last week it was pretty snowy out in my neighborhood, but my neighborhood looks nothing like this. I don't have a big body of water like an ocean for the polar bear to swim in. I don't think my neighborhood would be a good habitat for a polar bear. And unless you live way up north in Alaska or Canada, I don't think yours would be either. But it's still going to be fun to learn about them. So I'm gonna read the first page of polar bears. Then I want to show you something really cool that I learned. Bears. Bears have been around for millions of years. Today, bears are the largest meat-eating land animals. 3 kinds of bears live in North America. They are the American black bear, the brown bear, and the polar bear. So here's what they look like. So we're talking about the polar bear, and we said, no way, he does not live in Medina or anywhere near there, not Brunswick, nowhere in Ohio. And I learned something really cool because I thought, well, where do they live? So I decided to find a map. And this map is from the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, and it shows the polar bear's range. And that's just a fancy word for where they live. And you'll see their range is where it's blue. So they live way up north, definitely near the ocean. And then where we are is right here. So we are pretty far away from any polar bear habitats. We'd have to go really far. But then I got to thinking, well, the beginning of that book, it also mentioned black bears. And I've heard of black bears before, and I've even actually seen one. So I thought, well, I wonder about the black bear's habitat. So I found a map for that. It's from usgs.gov, and this is a black bear map showing where they live. And if you look, you can see here's Ohio, and you have to travel to Pennsylvania to really get into their habitat. I did a little bit of reading, and it says that black bears are coming back to Ohio. In fact, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources said that last year they thought between 50 and 100 are living in Ohio, but it's considered their secondary habitat. When I saw a black bear, I was in Pennsylvania camping. So, black bears, you have a better chance of seeing. Polar bears, no, not really. But I thought that was some cool information. So, I'm gonna read the rest of the book. Bears are mammals. Mammals are born alive instead of hatching from eggs. They use lungs to breathe air. Female mammals make milk in their bodies to feed their young. Most mammals have hair or fur. Giraffes, tigers, seals, and people are mammals too. So there is a mother polar bear with her babies. Polar bears are the largest bears in the world. They live where it is very cold. Polar bears are good swimmers. They can swim 50 miles without resting. Polar bears are good at running too. They can run as fast as 25 miles an hour. And I thought it was cool. The polar bear's Latin name means sea bear. And I can definitely see why. Polar bears are big and strong. Standing on 4 legs, males are about 5 feet tall. They weigh about 1,100 pounds. Female polar bears are smaller. I would not want to be in the middle of that. Polar bears have small ears and short tails. Their big paws are 12 inches across. That's as long as a ruler. They have special pads on the bottoms of their feet. These pads help polar bears walk on ice without slipping. And this shows that they also have fur on the bottom of their feet. It's interesting. The polar bear's coat is very thick. It has 2 layers of fur. The outside fur is colorless. The inside fur is white. The polar bear's fur draws heat from the sun. It helps the polar bear stay warm. Under the skin is a thick layer of blubber. Can you say that? Blubber. Blubber also helps polar bears stay warm. That blubber is a clue about the experiment we're going to do after the story. It has to do with blubber. Polar bears live in the Arctic. The Arctic is near the North Pole. Hey, I know someone else who lives in the North Pole. Do you? Polar bears mostly live near the coasts. They live on ice and tundra. The tundra is land that stays mostly frozen. However, global warming is causing the polar ice to melt. This means polar bears will have less room for hunting and having babies. So polar bears could become endangered. So they need the cold and they need the ice to survive. That's very important that they have that kind of habitat. Polar bears eat seals, walruses, fish, and other animals. Polar bears also eat plants. These include berries, seaweed, and grass. Polar bears have a keen, that means a very good, sense of smell. This helps them find seals and other prey. Polar bears often hunt ringed seals. Sometimes polar bears catch sleeping seals. Oh no. And here is a ringed seal. This is what they look like. Some polar bears wait for seals by holes in the ice. The holes are where swimming seals come up for air. When a seal comes up, a polar bear can catch it. So that is a sneaky polar bear. What else do you think they eat? Can you tell in the picture? What's he eating right there? Polar bears migrate each year to find food. Some polar bears migrate hundreds of miles. Arctic waters have ice floes. Migrating polar bears sometimes ride on ice floes. They may ride ice floes for many miles. And it says that the babies migrate with their mother. Just like how you go places with your mom or dad or your grandma or grandpa or whoever you live with. The little ones stick with the older ones, so probably because they're safe, right? Churchill is a town in Manitoba, Canada. It is on the coast of Hudson Bay. Some people call Churchill the polar bear capital of the world. Polar bears migrate through Churchill twice each year. People visit Churchill to watch the migrating bears. So it says you can get on a truck if you want to see the polar bears. And I can see people looking at those bears. But it looks like they are very safe, right? They're far away, they're up high. I think it would be dangerous if you were too close. Baby polar bears are called cubs. Female polar bears commonly have 2 cubs at a time. The cubs are born in dens. Polar bear cubs are usually born in December or January, so that means lots of cubs are being born this month, right now. Newborn cubs weigh less than 2 pounds. They cannot hear or see. The hairless cubs stay near their warm mother. They drink her milk. And this shows cubs that are a little bit older, and it says they're playful. Do you like to play? I bet you do. The mother and cubs leave their den in the spring. By this time, the cubs weigh about 25 pounds. They can run and play. They stay with their mother for 2 or 3 years. Polar bears can live as long as 30 years. And this picture shows the mama bear teaching the little ones how to swim. All right, that was a great book. I think I learned a lot, especially about the blubber, about what polar bears eat. So I think I'm ready for an experiment because I really want to know, how do those polar bears stay warm in the ice, in the snow, in the water when they're swimming around and hunting? How do they not get too cold? So if you're ready, we're gonna do a little science experiment so we can see how does it work? How are they able to survive? Because there's no way we ever could. With our skin, we couldn't swim and survive in that cold, cold water. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's figure out how they survive. Hi, it's Miss Emily. I'm back for the second part of our story time. This is our fun science experiment, and we're talking about blubber and how blubber helps keep the polar bears warm. So how does that work? So I have a science experiment I'll be doing, and this is something easy that you can do at home if you want with a grown-up. For the experiment, you need a bowl full of ice cold water. So for my bowl, I got the water as cold as I could. I put ice in it, and then I waited for that ice to melt, and then I put some more ice in it. So I know this is very cold. I haven't touched it yet, but this is some freezing cold water. The next thing is Crisco. So I bought some Crisco, and this is going to act as the blubber. So the thing that insulates the polar bears or keeps them warm, that layer of fat, this is going to act like blubber in our science experiment. Something else I used is a glove. This one, if you're not worried about making a mess, then you can leave this one out, but this kind of kept the Crisco off my skin, and it made cleanup a little easier. The last part, again, not required, but keeps everything a bit cleaner, is some cling wrap. And you'll see in 1 second how we use all of this to see how polar bears stay warm. So what I did is I took a glove, I put it on my hand, and then I scooped as much Crisco onto my hand as I could, and I rubbed it all over my hand, on the front, on the back of my hand. I made sure it was nice and thick, and it ended up looking something like this. So you can see my hand. The white stuff is the Crisco. The plastic stuff on the outside is the cling wrap. So that just kind of keeps it, so if I touch the table, I don't get Crisco on the table, or if I touch my shirt, I don't get Crisco on my shirt. So I've got the glove on my hand. I dipped my hand into Crisco and I spread it all around, because this is going to be the blubber. Crisco has lots of fat in it, and that's what blubber is. So this is just like the polar bear blubber. So it's almost like I have blubber on my skin now, and I wrapped it all in plastic wrap just so it can stay together. It won't drip or make a mess. So let's see the difference between icy cold water with regular skin like we have. No fur, no blubber, none of this cool traits that polar bears have, just my regular hand. And then my polar bear hand with lots of blubber, insulating, keeping the heat inside my body and the cold out. So this is the fun part. I'm gonna stick my hand, my regular hand, into the cold, cold water. Are you ready? Okay. I'm a little nervous. Oh, that is so cold. Oh, that is so cold. I could not leave my hand in there even a minute. It's freezing. I could not swim in that water like polar bears could. No way. I can't even, you see it, I can't even keep my hand in there for a long time. No way. I would not survive in the Arctic like a polar bear. But here's my polar bear hand. I've got my Crisco on. That's acting like blubber. I've got my plastic wrap keeping it all in. So let's see if this blubber really helps keep my hand warm. And let's see if I can leave this hand in a little bit longer. Wow. Guys, I can barely feel this cold water. And I'm really excited. I can't wait. I really hope you try this at home, because I'm not joking. My hand is still warm. Now I see a few spots where it's getting a little cold. That's just where I didn't rub the Crisco in very well. I missed a few spots. But this hand is having no problem staying in the water. My other hand I could barely keep in, but my polar bear hand with lots of blubber, I'm having no problem keeping it in this ice cold water. So I think blubber is a pretty cool animal superpower to have. This is keeping my hand warm, and I can definitely see why the blubber keeps the polar bears warm. All right, well, I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you try this experiment at home. Thank you for reading Polar Bears with me. And I hope you learned new fun facts about polar bears, and I hope you have a fun new activity that you can do at home to try out your very own polar bear blubber. All right, have a good day, guys. See you next time.